Imagine running your own OpenCTI instance, collecting real threat intel, visualizing it live, and managing it all from your own dashboard. In this video, we'll go from zero to a fully working platform with Docker and your first connectors feeding real data. I'm Jamie Capra, support engineer for the EMEA region. Okay folks, thanks for joining us for this installation video on OpenCTI via Docker. Must point out at this time that this is not a guide on installing in a production environment. This is purely for training and learning purposes. Alright, there are many ways we could install this. We're going to use Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL, but you could also install it in a VM or a dedicated Linux box. So we require the feature WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. If you don't already have that, it can be installed with one command, which will also install a LTS version of Ubuntu 22.04. That can all be done in an administrator Windows PowerShell session. So open that up in advance. The sequence may be a bit quicker, as you're seeing here, because I've already completed it, so that it may have cached some information. So do be aware of that. Okay, bring that one over there. Should ask us to create an account. Okay. Create a secure password. Okay, excellent. That's all completed. At this point, it's a good idea to do a full reboot of your PC. So we'll come right back. Okay, we are rebooted. So we needed to check now that we're on version 2 of Windows Subsystem for Linux. And that command is as so. Yeah, we want to make sure we're on version 2, and that looks good. Okay, so we need to update our packages just in case they're not on the very latest. So we will enter the Subsystem Linux and do a sudo apt update. Now, initially I did have an error about sudo. I had to go into Windows settings in developer options and turn on sudo. So if you do have that problem, you need to make sure you go into settings and turn on sudo. Okay. Let's do upgrade. Okay, let's check what I want to get at curl. All done. All right, next stage is to install Docker Desktop, and you can get that from docker.com. Click on the download here and install the Windows version. We already have that, it's downloaded, so let's clear our screen and install. Yeah. Make sure that we have WSL2 instead of Hyper-V. And add shortcut to desktop is fine. Click skip. So under resources here, WSL integration. We want to enable integration with the distro we previously installed. Enable that. Apply and restart. Close. Okay, I think it's a good idea at this time just to give the PC one more reboot, just to finalize any possible kernel changes. So we'll come right back after this. Okay, the PC has been rebooted and we've launched Docker Desktop. At this stage, I just want to make it clear that it's not strictly necessary for us to install the Docker Ubuntu image at the beginning, the 2204 image. The reason we did that is it just allows us a little bit more control. We can customize, debug the OpenCTI connectors in more detail, use Linux utilities for logs and automation. We could have strictly just searched for the OpenCTI image directly from Docker Desktop and work that way, but it does give us a lot more control if we have a proper Linux environment that we could use. So that just wanted to explain that. So we've relaunched a PowerShell administration session. We're going to create a folder that we can download the files from the OpenCTI repository. So if I copy this in here, we're making a directory OpenCTI in the root of C, and we're executing into the directory, change directory into the folder. So we'll clone the repository. And we should now be able to browse in. Yep. And there are our folders. So just to sort of show you where we are, this is cloned the files from here, the Docker Compose, and the sample files in this folder here. The IDs that Filigran uses are typical UUID version 4. Okay, you can use an online generator tool, for instance, here to generate these, but for the sake of this demonstration, we'll use the default values. Okay, so let's go back to our file here, and let's copy a sample file to a blank file. So we should now see this in our we have an OpenCTI Docker, and we've got our own environmental variable file, so which we can now create. So once we're all up and running, we should be able to access it in our browser on the local host on port 8080. For the sake of this demonstration, we will just copy one of these keys for the health check access key. And we'll create a password. We need to change this for the min.io file storage. We'll use a super secure password. In reality, please create something a little bit more secure. And we'll do the same for RabbitMQ. We'll leave the elastic memory at 4 gig, but if you are wanting to test multiple connectors, it might be an idea to change that to 8 gigabytes. All right, so we've changed the passwords for those. I think we're good. Oh, we haven't put an admin password. We'll do that one as well. UUID with the admin token. Save the file. Okay, I think we're looking good. So we're in the current working directory. To start our container, we would just want to use Docker Compose up, and we want to bring it up with -D, which is detach mode, which allows us so it doesn't lock our terminal up. So we can still browse around if we need to do anything else. This is going to now pull all of the images. Okay, so let's test and see how we're getting on. Great news. Okay, looks like we are running. We have a new version of OpenCTI running, 6.8.11 at the time of this recording. So effectively, we're an empty shell at this point, so we need to ingest some data. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can do this from version 6.8. You can use the connectors catalog. However, this is an enterprise edition feature, and that's available from the ingestion and the connectors catalog. This allows complete automated deployment. We are slowly adding to the connectors catalog. Not all of our connectors are currently available, but they are being added more and more as time goes on. If we browse back to our repository, we can start to have a look at the connector options. And we would look for an external import connector. Now, I think a good one at this stage that gives us quite a few reports is AlienVault. Okay, and you can see from the README all of the options that we can use for our environmental variable file. So here we have the Docker Compose. We will only need it from here. We'll copy that. And we'll just, for the sake of simplicity, we can, instead of running it in a separate container, we can run it in the existing one so that it comes up with the platform. So let's have a look. Next here, we'll run it here. Now we're going to need some additional information. We're going to need to pop in our token for the platform. So we'll copy that one. OpenCTI token. We need to give the connector an ID. So we'll generate a new ID for that. And we're going to need an AlienVault API key in this instance. Now, AlienVault can download a lot of data. Okay, so in this instance, we're just going to put it to the 1st of November this year. So do bear that in mind. AlienVault can download a lot of data into your database. So, as I say, from the tag here, could be a lot of pulses, what they call their reports. Sign up for an AlienVault API key with the following details. I'm going to just log in for the moment to retrieve my key. But before I do that, we want to make sure that this container doesn't start before OpenCTI starts up. So we're going to copy that and pop that right underneath here. So it depends on OpenCTI being healthy. And I'm going to copy my key into here, save the file, and then we'll resume. Okay, I've saved changes to the file, so we should just be now a matter of bringing up the platform again. It'll detect that there's a change to the file, and it should be bringing up the AlienVault container. It has started, so if we now browse back into the platform, hit refresh, and we do have some data populating. Excellent. So if we browse to ingestion, we can see that our workers are running and the AlienVault connector is now ingesting data. So if we go to analysis and reports, we can see data is now being ingested. We'll install one more connector. So we're back to the OpenCTI platform connectors repository and on the external import. Just out of interest, if you are looking for other types, we've got the enrichment connectors also in here, and stream connectors to send data out, for instance, to your EDR platforms, etc. They would be under stream. But for now, for this demo, we're just going to look at external import. Another popular one with our client base is Ransomware Live. So we will add that one as well today down the list to Ransomware Live. And this one doesn't need an API key, so we can use it just direct. And we'll look at the connector configurations, and that information is all here in the document. This one is a little bit less configuration. So we'll go back to the file here, Docker Compose, take the raw data. Then remember, we only need it from connector well, yeah, connect to ransomware up to there. We've already got this at the bottom of our main Docker compose, so we'll just need this information here. Do pay attention, as I've noted earlier, to the indentation. We want to start from here. I think what we'll do is we'll change the start year, because we don't want to start from 2023. So we'll pull this the custom variable, which isn't because we can see that the default otherwise would be 2023. Back to our file. Start always, and we want to make sure we copy this in so that it doesn't start until OpenCTI has started. And that looks good. As I say, we've already got the volume data at the bottom, so that should be good. And we also, let's not forget, we need the OpenCTI token, which will be in our environmental variables. So we need to populate that. Save the changes to that. Back to Composer. This will just check for any changes and just basically pull in the ransomware image and start it up. Looks like we're good. So we will refresh here. Let's check in data ingestion. We can see ransomware live, and it's starting. And it's got some operations to complete. Excellent. So we should now see additional data coming in. Start observables. Yep. Yeah, we got some ransomware live data all coming in as we speak. There you have it. In just a few steps, you can install your very own cyber threat intelligence plan and work on real data. Links in the description, folks, and we really hope you've enjoyed this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.